This is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I tell you, I'm glad it's over. Welcome in. We're live here on this Thursday. Appreciate you guys joining me and starting your day with A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On ATL. Of course, you can follow me at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Big show for you guys today. Lots to get to. This segment brought to you by our good friends at BlueNile.com. I do want to start with the Atlanta Braves and wrap up what was a huge series with the New York Mets. And I kind of say that in tongue-in-cheek and jest just because it was a big series. And we talked about how it was going to feel like a playoff series. And we discussed how it was going to look like something that, you know, resembled what these two teams would do in October. And it would have that sort of feeling. And it was 3 sellout games at Truist Park. And it was a great, series all around from a baseball standpoint. It wasn't so great because the Braves lost 2 out of 3. But let's look at some minor takeaways from this whole thing. One, that you found out who your high leverage guys were. And I think we already knew this, right? Like we already knew that with a game on the line, going to Darren O'Day is not the best move that Brian Snitker is going to make. You saw that in game 1. O'Day gives up a homer when the Braves are trailing by 1, and all of a sudden the game gets out of hand, and that's that. Flip side, in game 2 of the series, Strider struggling in the 5th inning, didn't even get through 5, and what does Brian Snitker do? He goes to Tyler Matzik to get out of the 5th, get all the way through the 6th in a game. They were trailing 1-0, and they get rewarded with a 2-run bomb from Matt Olson, and they go on to win that game. Colin McHugh throws 2, and A.J. Minter finishes it up for the save. So, you look at those 2 games, and the way they played out were sort of a microcosm for how things would play out in the postseason. Push the right button with the relievers, get the right result. Push the wrong button with the relievers, get the wrong result. And that's just sort of the reality of the situation, not only for the Braves. They're not like alone in that position. That's for every playoff manager. If you're playing in a 5 or 7 game series, you got to push the right buttons at the right time, and your players got to come through for you. And for somebody who has been critical of Brian Snitker's bullpen management over the years, I did not like the fact that he went to O'Day in that spot. Yeah, some of that has to do with who pitched in the series before. That's the big difference about the regular season and the postseason. That's the big difference between game 7, 88, 87, 88, 89, and games 2, 3, and 4 of a playoff series. You go back to your horses repeatedly because we're not worried about a day off. You guys just pitch, and if they come through, they come through. And if they do the right thing, they do the right thing. And if it works out for you, great. If it doesn't, you got to quickly adjust and find another solution. So I think that's one takeaway about the bullpen and what we know about the bullpen and how consistent and good that they can be. So from that standpoint, I think we learned that. I was a little bit nerved a little bit by the hitting. They did not score a ton of runs in this series. They did not score a single run before the 6th inning in this series. And in that sense, they were lucky to escape with a win. Like if you talk to Met fans, they'll tell you, outside of one bad pitch to Matt Olson, we should have swept this series. Might be an argument for that. Like in reality, there might be an argument for that. So I understand what Met fans would say when they say that. And I think the reality of it is when you lean on the adage that good pitching is going to beat good hitting, going up against Scherzer and the likes of that multiple times in playoff series, you got to be able to hit the ball. And that could bring us to the concern of Ronald Acuna. And I want to get into that a little bit more from an offensive standpoint here. But first, a word from our friends at BlueNile.com. At Blue Nile, you can celebrate all of life's special moments, from creating custom engagement ring of her dreams to gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices that you won't find at a traditional jeweler. So, look, whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her and the modern convenience of shopping online at BlueNile.com. They have simple online tools. They let you choose your diamond shape, size, clarity, as well as setting style. And then Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft the perfect engagement ring. Each one's one of a kind. They can do the same sort of handcrafting with that perfect one-of-a-kind, life special moment jewelry piece. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners will get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement rings. Use the code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured and ships free and arrives in discreet packaging, so nobody will know what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right, back to Ronald Acuna, because he has been struggling by Ronald Acuna standards. And I'm not sure what makes that, how you frame that the right way, right? Like Ronald Acuna's standards for struggling might be above average for other players. And that's fine. But there is a point in time where you've got to look at the power numbers for Acuna. You got to look at the slugging percentage. And you have to figure out, whether this is a protracted slump or this is a bad year or something is not right from a health standpoint. I mean, you won without Ronald Acuna last year, but you were getting plus performances from guys that you didn't expect. And as well, you still had Freddie Freeman in the lineup. You don't have the luxury of that. Now, I know Olsen looks like he's had his coming out party because, again, he had another home run yesterday. And it'd be great. The unfortunate part now with Olsen seemingly getting hot is that the All-Star break is coming in 4 days. So, get hot all you want, but you're going to get a nearly a week break here in 4 days. But that said, I am not suggesting that Acuna be benched. I'm not suggesting necessarily that he be taken out of his top spot in the lineup. Obviously, they're going to wait till after the All-Star break. They're going to ride this out the way it is. But if it doesn't turn around very quickly at the beginning of the All-Star break, you may have to consider, especially where you are in the standings. Now, the whole series with the Mets kind of was a wash, right? Nobody got swept. And so as long as that didn't happen, at the end of the day, it was going to be like, okay, you lost a game, you gained a game, whatever it was. I mean, that was pretty much it. As long as nobody got swept, nobody really had the true upper hand. So with that being the case, depending on where they are, right now 2.5, depending on where they are, 2 weeks after the All-Star break and what it looks like, and if they're slipping or if they're gaining traction, will really help be able to figure out what you can do with a decision if you've still got a struggling star. Because at some point in time, you're going to have to give him more than 1 day off a week if he's not producing and he's hurting the team more than he's helping them. So I think that's something, just to take note of and see where it goes. All right, when we come back, some very interesting comments from one of the most respected coaches in the Braves staff about one of the biggest stars on the Braves staff. We'll get to that next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast, search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Be right back.